They mocked the Mafia boss's maid for having no date. Who he brought shocked everyone. The penthouse was supposed to feel peaceful at that hour. After midnight, the city noise softened behind the tall windows, and the lights of Manhattan usually greeted Leo DeLuca with a sense of control. He didn't need much sleep, but he liked the silence. It was the one thing he could rely on after long nights of meetings. But tonight, something broke that silence. A sound, soft, uneven, and painfully fragile. Leo stilled near the entrance. His eyes narrowed as he listened again. Another breath trembled. Not a sigh, not exhaustion. Something closer to someone trying desperately not to fall apart. He followed it to the kitchen. Debbie Carter stood near the counter, still in her maid uniform, shoulders shaking as she tried to wipe her tears discreetly. Her ponytail was slightly messy from the long shift. Her hands trembled. She sniffed once, quietly, but not quietly enough for him to miss it. She turned the moment she sensed him there. Her eyes widened, embarrassed, like she'd been caught doing something she had no right to do, feeling something. Tears were still on her cheeks. Mascara smudged. She tried to smile, but it didn't even come close. Leo stopped breathing for a second. He'd seen people scared. He'd seen people furious. He'd seen people furious at him. But sadness, genuine, aching sadness, on the face of someone like Debbie. He wasn't prepared for that. She took a shaky step back. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to disturb you. I'll finish and go. You're not disturbing me. His voice came out sharper, lower than he intended. She looked down quickly. I'm fine. No, he said, taking a slow step nearer. You're not. The words surprised even him. Leo DeLuca didn't speak gently. Not in business, not in life, and definitely not in moments like this. But Debbie wasn't like anyone else. She never had been. She was hardworking, quiet, and impossibly kind. The kind of person who apologized when other people bumped into her. The kind of person who always asked him if he'd eaten, even though it wasn't part of her job. The kind of person who made the home feel less like a fortress. Seeing her break, it stirred something he had no practice handling. Did someone hurt you? He asked. Her breath caught, and she shook her head quickly. No, sir. It's nothing, really. Leo exhaled slowly, studying every detail of her face. The redness around her eyes, the slight tremor in her voice, the way she clung to the edge of the counter like she needed something solid to stay upright. Debbie, he said quietly, look at me. She didn't, but she stopped pretending everything was okay. After a long moment, she whispered, It's stupid. Try me. She hesitated, then finally said, The girls at my nursing program, they made fun of me today. Leo's jaw locked. Why? Her eyes filled again, but she didn't let the tears fall this time. Because I don't have anyone to go with to the graduation gala. Because I don't have family, or friends, and because... She swallowed hard. Because they think I'm pathetic for working as a maid. His anger rose instantly, silent but sharp. Who are these girls? It doesn't matter, she said quickly. They're the ones everyone listens to. They said things they shouldn't have. I tried to laugh it off, but it hurt more than I expected. She paused, then added softly, I've never gone to any school event before. I guess I thought maybe this year would be different. Her voice cracked. It wasn't. Leo's stomach tightened in a way he wasn't used to. And you? You said nothing? She shook her head, ashamed. I never know what to say back. Of course she didn't. Debbie wasn't built for confrontation, and she shouldn't need to be. He leaned against the counter, trying to ease the tension in his voice. So you're not going? No, there's no point. She tried a small laugh. I was looking online for dresses earlier, just to see. I even found one red one I thought was beautiful. But I don't know what I was thinking. I can't go. I can't afford it. I don't have anyone to go with, and I don't want to show up looking alone and out of place. The mention of the dress, red, lodged itself in his mind. Leo opened the fridge out of habit, maybe to give himself a second to think. He grabbed the first bottle he saw. Coffee creamer. Debbie blinked, confused, then sniffled a tiny laugh. That's not milk, sir. He looked at the bottle, then back at her. Obviously. It says vanilla on it. I see that. She let out another small laugh through her tears. It wasn't much, but it loosened the tightness in Leo's chest. He didn't understand why it mattered so much that she smiled, but it did. He set the bottle down and stepped toward her again. "Debbie," he said quietly, "why do you really think you don't belong at this gala?" Her shoulders lifted and dropped. "Because everyone there will have someone with them, someone proud of them, someone cheering for them. I'll have no one. I'll look like the girl who showed up because she didn't want to be alone at home." She swallowed again. "And maybe that's exactly what I am." Leo's voice dropped. "That's not who you are." She looked up, surprised by how firm and certain he sounded. "How would you know?" she asked softly. He moved closer, close enough for her to notice the warmth of him, close enough that she felt the shift in the air. "Because I see you, Debbie, even when you think no one does." Her breath hitched. "You work harder than anyone," he continued. "You take care of this home without ever complaining. You study after midnight. You take double shifts, and you still manage to be kind." He paused. "You deserve to be there more than anyone." Her eyes glistened, but this time with something softer. "And about going alone?" Leo's voice lowered. "Who told you that's the only option?" Debbie blinked. I don't have a date." He leaned in slightly. "Are you sure?" His tone changed, deeper, quieter, carrying something she had never heard from him before, something that made her heart pound in her chest. Before she could respond, he straightened. "We'll talk tomorrow," he said, his voice steady again. "Don't make any decisions tonight." He turned to leave, but paused in the doorway. "And Debbie?" She looked up. "Next time someone makes you cry," he said, "I want to know their names." Her lips parted, stunned, not by the words, but by how much he meant them. He walked away, leaving her alone in the kitchen with a heart beating far too fast and a question echoing in her mind. What exactly did he mean when he asked if she was sure she didn't have a date? Debbie arrived at the penthouse earlier than usual the next morning. She barely slept, replaying Leo's words in her mind over and over again. "Are you sure?" The question had echoed in her chest the entire night. It didn't make sense. Leo DeLuca didn't say things like that. He didn't hint. He didn't leave room for interpretation. Yet he had left her wondering. She tried to clean the living room first, then the kitchen, then the hallway, but her mind refused to focus. Every small sound made her glance toward the elevator, waiting for the moment he would come down. At 9:12 a.m. she heard it. The elevator chimed softly, and her heart jumped before she could stop it. She straightened her uniform and forced herself to look normal, whatever that meant. Leo stepped out, already in a black button-up shirt, sleeves tight around his forearms. His hair was slightly messy, like he had run his hand through it more than once. He held a folder under his arm, but his eyes were on her immediately. "Morning," he said. Her breath caught. "Good morning, sir." He studied her for a moment. Too long for comfort, but not long enough for her to understand what he was thinking. "Come to my office when you're done here," he said calmly. "There's something I need to discuss with you." Her stomach tightened. Discuss could mean anything. Maybe he wanted to ask about her schedule. Maybe he wanted to talk about her crying. Maybe he regretted saying anything last night. Maybe... "Debbie." She blinked. "Yes?" "You're gripping that pillow like it offended you." She looked down. She was holding a throw pillow so tightly it was almost folded in half. Heat rushed up her cheeks and she quickly set it down. "Sorry." "I'll go to your office now if you want." He nodded once. "Come." She followed him down the hallway. His office was large, minimalistic, intimidating, everything he was. The moment she stepped inside, she reminded herself to breathe. He placed the folder on the table and gestured for her to come closer. "Stand here," he said. Her pulse jumped. She stepped to the edge of the desk, unsure why he wanted her so close. Leo didn't sit. Instead, he leaned back against the desk, arms crossed, eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her shift her weight from one foot to the other. "You said the gala is next Friday, right?" he asked. She nodded. Yes, sir. What time? 7. What's the location? She hesitated, then told him the name of the university's ballroom. He nodded slowly, as if committing every detail to memory. Debbie didn't understand why he needed to know this much. He uncrossed his arms, stepped forward, and stopped only a foot away from her. Do you still plan on skipping it? Debbie lowered her eyes. I don't know. That's not an answer. I just don't want to embarrass myself again. Leo's jaw tightened. You didn't embarrass yourself? They did. Her lips parted slightly, surprised by how firmly he said it. He took another step, close enough that she could feel the warmth from his body. And if you went, he asked, who would you go with? I told you. I don't have anyone. Maybe you do. Her breath hitched. She slowly lifted her eyes to meet his, but he didn't look away. There was something in his gaze that made her chest tighten. Something heavier than kindness and deeper than concern. Sir, she whispered. Leo. She froze. He had never asked her to call him that. It's okay, he said quietly. Say it. She swallowed. Leo. The way his name sounded in her voice made his expression shift almost imperceptibly, like he felt something he wasn't expecting. Good, he murmured. Now answer me. She hesitated. Why are you asking? He let out a slow breath, almost like he was choosing every word carefully. Because I want to know if you would go, if you had a date. Her heart pounded. I don't know. I've never gone to anything like that. I don't even know what to wear. You'll wear red, he said without hesitation. She blinked. Red? You said yesterday you liked a red dress you saw online. His voice lowered. It suits you. Her cheeks warmed instantly. He remembered that. He stepped even closer. You would look beautiful in red. She felt dizzy for a moment. No one had ever said something like that to her. Not seriously, not sincerely. She didn't know how to respond. Leo raised a hand slowly, giving her enough time to step back if she wanted. She didn't move. His fingertips brushed her chin gently, tilting her face up. Debbie, he said, voice low, you deserve to go to that gala with someone who sees your value. Her breath stilled completely. And if you let me, he continued quietly, I'll take you. She froze, stunned, unsure if she heard correctly. You would go with me? She whispered. I'm not offering out of pity, he said. I'm offering because I want to. Her knees almost gave out. But people will stare. Let them. They'll talk. They already do. And the girls who made fun of me. He cut her off. Will regret it. A small, nervous laugh escaped her. You can't fight them, Leo. Who said anything about fighting? His voice softened. Just my presence will be enough. She looked down, overwhelmed. I don't know if I belong there. He took her hand, carefully, lightly, but firmly enough that she felt the truth of everything he wasn't saying. You belong anywhere you want to be, he said. And if someone makes you feel small again, I'll be right beside you. Her eyes filled with tears, not of sadness this time, but of something warm and unfamiliar. I don't want to force you, she began. You're not forcing me. His thumb brushed the back of her hand. I'm choosing this. She swallowed hard. Then, I guess, yes, I'll go. His gaze dropped briefly to her lips before he caught himself and straightened his posture. Good, he said, voice lower than before. I'll make arrangements. She nodded, breath shaky. Then he added quietly, and Debbie, don't look so nervous. Next Friday will be a good night. She tried to smile. If you say so. I do. He let go of her hand, slowly, like he wasn't fully ready to release it. She turned to leave. But before she reached the door, he spoke again. Debbie? She looked back. You still don't know the effect you'll have when you walk in wearing that red dress. Her cheeks heated instantly. He gave a small, knowing smirk, rare, subtle, and devastating, and she left the office with her heart pounding uncontrollably. But one thought followed her all the way down the hallway. What exactly did he feel when he offered to take her? And why did it feel like he meant more than he said? The rest of the week passed in a strange mix of routine and nervous energy. For everyone else, nothing seemed different. The staff came and went. Calls were answered. Schedules were followed. Life moved. But for Debbie, every day had a new weight to it. Each time she walked past Leo's office, she felt her cheeks grow warm. Each time she heard his voice down the hall, her chest tightened. And every time she remembered his words in that office, "If you let me, I'll take you," her stomach flipped. He was taking her to the graduation gala, the Mafia boss, her boss, and she had agreed. On Thursday afternoon, while she was organizing the cabinets in the kitchen, the intercom buzzed softly. She wiped her hands on a towel and pressed the button. "Yes? Debbie?" Leo's voice came through, calm and steady. "Come downstairs. The driver is waiting." She froze. "Downstairs?" "I told you I'd make arrangements," he said. "You need a dress." Her heart skipped. "Now?" "Yes. Bring your bag if you have to leave straight after. I'll handle the hours. You're not losing anything." She opened her mouth to answer, but he had already disconnected. Debbie looked down at her maid uniform, then at the clock. It was late afternoon. She had classes that evening, but she could afford to be a little late if she had to. Besides, how was she supposed to say no? Her hands shook slightly as she grabbed her small bag and headed downstairs. Outside, a black car waited by the entrance of the building, polished and intimidating. She hesitated for half a second, then the driver stepped out and opened the door for her. "Miss Carter," he said politely. "Mr. DeLuca asked me to take you to the boutique." She climbed into the car, still confused. "Is he coming too?" The driver started the engine. "He said he might meet you there." Her heart sped up again. "Might?" "Yes, miss." He was vague, but professional. Debbie sank into the seat, trying to calm her racing thoughts. The city passed by in a blur of lights and people as the car moved through Manhattan. She pressed her hands together on her lap. "I'm just picking a dress," she told herself. "That's all. People do this all the time. Except people usually didn't do this with a car sent by a mafia boss." They stopped in front of a boutique that looked nothing like the places Debbie usually shopped. It had tall windows, soft lighting, and only a few dresses on display, each one more elegant than the last. The door opened before she even touched it. "Good afternoon." A woman in a fitted black dress greeted her with a warm smile. "You must be Miss Carter." Debbie blinked. "Yes." "How did you—" "Mr. DeLuca called ahead," the woman said. "I'm Mia. We've been expecting you." Of course they have. Debbie stepped inside, feeling instantly out of place. The floor was glossy. The racks were spaced out, each dress hanging like it had its own spotlight. Nothing about this place said budget or student-friendly. "I think there's been a mistake," Debbie said quietly. "These dresses look expensive." Mia smiled again, calm and practiced. "Everything is taken care of. You don't have to worry about that." "But, Miss Carter," Mia said gently, "he was very clear. He wants you to find a dress that makes you feel beautiful and confident. That's all." Debbie's stomach fluttered. She looked around, nervous. "He really said that?" Mia nodded. "In those words." Her chest tightened. "Come," Mia continued. "Let me show you a few options. He mentioned red." Of course he did. They walked deeper into the store. Mia pulled out several dresses, some sleek, some with more volume, all of them far beyond anything Debbie had ever imagined wearing. She touched one of the fabrics gently, surprised by how soft it felt under her fingers. "I'm not sure any of these will look good on me," she admitted. "Try them first," Mia said. "It's never as bad as we think." Debbie smiled weakly. "You've never seen me trip in heels?" Mia laughed. "We have straps for that too." They moved into a fitting area with a large mirror and soft lighting that made everything look warmer. Debbie took a deep breath and tried on the first dress. It was nice, but not right. The second one was too tight. The third one washed her out. She stepped out of the fitting room in each one, and Mia tilted her head thoughtfully every time. Pretty, Mia said once. Not bad, she said another. Almost, she added with one more. But none of them felt like her. Then Mia held up the last dress. A deep, rich red. It was elegant, with a fitted bodice and a skirt that flowed down in a smooth line. It had thin straps and a gentle neckline, enough to make her feel like a woman, not a child, but still modest enough that she could breathe. Debbie stared at it. I don't think I can pull that off, she whispered. Mia shook her head. I think this is the one you were meant to try first. She handed it to Debbie with a small smile. Just put it on. If you don't like it, we keep looking. No pressure. Debbie nodded slowly and stepped back into the fitting room. Her hands were a little unsteady as she changed, but the fabric slid over her body with surprising ease. It hugged her in the right places and fell gracefully in others. She smoothed her hands over the front, took a breath, and turned to face the mirror. For a moment she didn't recognize herself. The dress made her look grown, confident. Her shoulders looked straighter, her waist more defined. Her skin seemed warmer against the color. Her eyes stood out more, framed by the red. She swallowed. This was not a girl who blended into the background. This was not the girl who cleaned floors and got ignored. This was someone else. Are you okay in there? Mia called softly. I think so, Debbie answered. Her voice sounded different too. Can I see? Debbie hesitated. Okay. She opened the door slowly and stepped out. Mia's smile widened immediately. There she is. Debbie blushed. Is that good or bad? Good, Mia said. Very good. Debbie turned toward the mirror outside, looking at herself from another angle. She smoothed the fabric nervously. It feels strange. Strange how? Mia asked. Like this is someone I'd see walking next to him, Debbie said before she could stop herself. Not me. Mia tilted her head. Maybe that is you. You just haven't seen her yet. Debbie laughed softly, a little shy. Before she could answer, she heard the sound of the front door opening. Footsteps followed. Calm, steady, familiar. Her heart dropped to her stomach. Mia's expression flickered into something like surprise and then into a trained smile. I'll be right back, she murmured before walking away. Debbie stood there, frozen in the red dress, staring at her reflection with wide eyes. Of all the moments for him to arrive, it had to be this one. She heard his voice a second later. Is she here? In the back, Mia answered politely. She's trying something on. His steps moved closer. Debbie's pulse raced. Her hands flew to her hair, trying to fix it, then to the sides of the dress, then back to her hair again. She had no idea what to do with her arms. She felt like she was made of nerves only. And then, he turned the corner. Leo stopped. For a brief second, his face was unreadable. No words, no movement. His eyes started at the bottom of the dress and slowly moved up, over the soft line of the fabric, the way it shaped her waist, the curve of her shoulders, the faint flush on her chest from being so nervous. Finally, his gaze reached her face. He didn't say anything. He just stared. Debbie felt her throat go dry. I can change if it's too much. I know it's bright and I probably look ridiculous and— You don't, he cut in, his voice rougher than usual. She blinked. I don't? His jaw flexed slightly. You look incredible. Her breath caught. Mia stepped back discreetly, giving them space. Leo took a slow step toward her, then another. He stopped a few feet away, close enough to see every small detail of her face. It fits you perfectly, he said, like it was made for you. Debbie tried to laugh it off, but it came out shaky. I don't know how to stand in it. My legs feel weak. Leo's lips twitched. That happens sometimes. To who? She asked softly. His eyes stayed on hers. To anyone who sees you right now. Her cheeks heated instantly. He cleared his throat lightly, as if trying to pull himself together. Can you walk in it? I think so, she said. I'm not very good in heels. We'll test that, he said. Take a few steps for me. That sounded more like a command than a suggestion, but she obeyed anyway. She turned and took a few careful steps forward. The dress didn't catch. It moved with her, smooth and elegant. She heard him exhale behind her, quiet but real. Again, he said. She walked back toward him, slightly less awkward this time. The skirt swayed just enough to give a glimpse of the way it followed her body. He watched every movement. When she stopped in front of him, she felt his gaze on her like a physical touch. "What do you think?" she asked, voice low. "I think," he said slowly, "every person in that room will look at you first when we walk in." Her heart slammed against her ribs. "That sounds terrifying." "It sounds accurate," he replied. She laughed nervously. "I've never owned anything like this in my life." "You do now," he said. "We're taking it." Debbie's eyes widened. "Leo, no, this is too much. I can't let you pay for this." "You can, and you will," he said, tone gentle but final. "It's not up for debate." "But," he stepped closer, lowering his voice, "this is not a favor. This is me making sure that when you walk into that gala, no one will ever forget it." Her breath hitched again. Mia returned with a box of shoes. "We'll need a pair of heels to match. Nothing too high, since she'll want to survive the night." Leo gave a small nod. "Reasonable." Debbie tried on a pair of red heels with a secure strap around the ankle. She walked slowly, and to her surprise, she didn't slip or trip. "See?" Mia said. "You're fine." "I feel like I might fall at any second," Debbie replied. "If you do," Leo said calmly, "I'll catch you." She looked at him. He held her gaze, completely serious. For a brief moment, everything else in the boutique faded into the background. It was just her, in that red dress, and him, standing too close, looking at her like she was not just another person in his world, but the only one in the room. Her heart pounded so hard she was sure he could hear it. Mia broke the silence. "I'll start the paperwork." Leo nodded without taking his eyes off Debbie. "Thank you." When Mia walked away again, Debbie whispered, "You really don't have to do all this." He moved a little closer. "You keep saying that, and I'll keep ignoring it." She gave a tiny smile. "You're very stubborn." "Only when it matters." Her chest warmed. "And this matters?" His eyes softened in a way that made it hard for her to breathe. "More than you think." She didn't know what to do with that answer. She only knew that her body felt too warm, her dress suddenly too real, and the distance between them too small. "Go change," he said quietly after a moment, his voice lower. "We'll have the dress and shoes sent to the penthouse. You still have class tonight, right?" She nodded. "Yes." "Then you shouldn't be late." She turned to head back into the fitting room, her heart still racing. Before she stepped inside, he added, "Debbie." She looked over her shoulder. His gaze moved over her one more time, like he was trying to memorize the image. "Next time you wear that dress," he said, "I won't be seeing it in a boutique. I'll be walking into that gala with you." Her throat tightened. "And what will you be thinking when you do?" He held her eyes, and for once, he didn't hide his answer. "That you're mine for the night," he said quietly, "and that everyone will know it." She stood frozen for a second, heat rushing all the way to her ears. She didn't know how to respond, so she didn't. She just gave a small nod and disappeared back into the fitting room, closing the door with fingers that still trembled. Inside, she leaned her back against the wall and took several deep breaths. "Mine for the night." He had said it so calmly, like it was natural, like it was already decided. And yet, as she looked once more at her reflection in the red dress before taking it off, she couldn't stop the thought that slipped into her mind. What if she wanted to be his for more than just one night? The night of the gala arrived faster than Debbie expected. For the entire week, she replayed the moment in the boutique over and over again. The way Leo stared at her, the way his voice lowered when he said she'd be his for the night, the way her heart nearly burst out of her chest. Now, standing in her tiny bedroom with the red dress hanging on the back of the door, She felt her nerves crackle beneath her skin. She took a deep breath. "It's just a gala," she told herself. "Just one night. Just pretend you belong there." But the truth was clearer. She wasn't pretending. Leo was choosing to take her. She didn't understand the reason, but she felt it. This wasn't kindness. It wasn't obligation. It wasn't pity. It was intentional. She stepped into the dress carefully, pulling the zipper up with shaky hands. The fabric settled against her body like it remembered her shape. She checked herself in the mirror. The deep red color made her skin glow and her eyes brighter. She pulled her hair down in soft waves, added subtle makeup, and tried to steady her breathing. When she slipped on the red heels, she felt taller, stronger, like the version of herself she had never allowed to exist. A soft buzz came from her phone. "Leo, your car is waiting downstairs. Take your time. I'll meet you at the university entrance." Her pulse quickened. She grabbed her small purse and stepped out of the apartment, heart thumping loudly all the way down the stairs. Outside, the sleek black car was already waiting, the driver opening the door for her with a polite nod. "Miss Carter?" She climbed in, clutching her purse, hands trembling just enough to betray her nerves. The ride was a blur of city lights. She barely heard the hum of the engine over the sound of her own heartbeat. She kept rehearsing what she would say, how she would walk, how she would introduce herself, until the car slowed near the grand entrance of the university ballroom. She saw him immediately. Leo stood near the steps, adjusting the cuffs of his black suit. Not just any suit, an immaculate tailored one that fit him so perfectly it looked made for tonight. His hair was styled neatly, shadows from the soft lights defining the sharp lines of his jaw. But it was when he looked up that her breath vanished entirely. His eyes locked on her through the window. For a moment, he didn't move. He didn't blink. He didn't even pretend to hide the way his gaze traveled over her silhouette as she stepped out of the car. Debbie felt her knees wobble, but she held her posture. Leo moved toward her slowly, every step measured, controlled, unmistakably powerful. When he reached her, he stopped close, closer than appropriate, closer than friendly. "Debbie," he said, voice lower than usual. "You look—" She swallowed hard. "Is it okay?" He inhaled just once, as if steadying himself. "It's more than okay." Her cheeks heated. He offered his arm to her. "Ready?" She nodded, slipping her hand around his forearm. The moment her fingers touched him, he flexed slightly, as if holding back something he didn't want to reveal. They began walking up the steps together. She almost tripped on the third step, but Leo steadied her instantly, his hand gripping her waist with firm confidence. "Careful," he murmured near her ear. "You're safe with me." Her heart fluttered. When the ballroom doors opened, music drifted out, soft, elegant, echoing through the hall. They stepped inside, and the room froze, literally. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Drinks paused halfway to lips. Heads turned at once. Because Debbie Carter, the quiet maid who everyone overlooked, was walking arm in arm with a man who didn't belong to their world, a man who looked like the entire night existed just to watch him walk in. Whispers rose instantly. "Is that—" "No way. She brought him? He's gorgeous. Who is he?" Leo didn't acknowledge any of it. His expression stayed composed, but Debbie felt how his arm drew her closer, claiming her without touching more than necessary. Students stared, professors blinked. Even the staff paused, but the loudest reactions came from the group of girls who had humiliated her earlier. Madison, Harper, Elise. Their eyes widened so far Debbie almost laughed, mouths open, faces pale. One of them actually dropped her drink. Leo noticed them immediately. He leaned in and whispered, "Are those the ones?" Debbie flushed. "Yes, but it's okay. Don't—" He cut her off gently. "I just want to know who I'm ignoring." She laughed despite herself. They continued walking through the ballroom as if they owned the place, though in truth Leo felt like he did. He was relaxed but alert, confident but attentive, and every few seconds he looked at her out of the corner of his eye, like he couldn't help himself. "Do you want something to drink?" he asked softly. "Just water," she said. He led her to the refreshment table. Even the student volunteers froze, unsure how to act around him. Leo accepted 2 glasses of water and handed one to her. "You're shaking," he noticed. She nodded, embarrassed. "A little. Don't be." He gave her a small, reassuring look. "You're the only reason this room is staring, not me." She smiled shyly. "I don't believe that." "You should." Before she could process the compliment, a voice cut in behind her. Well. Debbie Carter actually came. Debbie stiffened. Madison stood there with her arms crossed, a tight smile on her face. Harper and Elise behind her. Leo turned, not smiling at all. Madison looked him up and down in a way that immediately irritated Debbie. "And you must be?" Leo raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Someone who wasn't talking to you?" Madison blinked. "Excuse me?" Leo leaned slightly forward, not threatening, just confident in a way that made Madison step back. "If you're going to approach her," he said calmly, "you'll do it with respect." Harper scoffed. "We were just surprised she showed up." "No one expects the maid to—" "That's enough," Leo said, voice dropping a degree. Not loud, not aggressive, just final. The girls fell silent. Debbie felt heat rise to her face, not from embarrassment this time, but from something warm and protective spreading through her chest. Madison cleared her throat awkwardly. "We'll, enjoy the party." They disappeared quickly. Leo turned back to Debbie. "If they bother you again, tell me." She shook her head, smiling softly. "I think they're done." "Good," he said. "I don't like people who waste my time." She laughed lightly, nerves settling. "You didn't have to step in." "Yes, I did." There was no hesitation in his voice. Before Debbie could answer, the music shifted to a slower rhythm. A soft, warm melody filled the air. Leo glanced at the dance floor, then at her. "Do you want to dance?" Her stomach dropped. "Leo, I'm terrible at dancing." His lips curved in the hint of a smirk. "I'll lead." She hesitated only for a second before placing her hand in his. He pulled her gently onto the dance floor. His hand settled on her waist, warm, steady, firm. Her other hand slid into his, fingers intertwining. She felt his breath near her temple, his chest against hers, his presence overwhelming in the best way. They began moving slowly. Debbie looked up at him, nervous. "I'm stepping on your shoes, aren't I?" "You haven't yet." "I will. Then I'll survive." She laughed softly. "You're shaking," he murmured. "I'm dancing with you," she whispered. His grip on her waist tightened just a little. "That's the point." They kept swaying, small steps, quiet breaths, everything feeling softer than the lights above them. And at some moment, she wasn't sure when exactly, her nerves faded. She leaned slightly closer. He pulled her in without thinking. She rested her head near his shoulder. He exhaled slowly, as if trying to steady himself. When the song ended, he didn't let her go immediately. "Debbie," he said softly. She looked up. "This night, you have no idea what it's doing to me." Her gasp was soft. "To you?" He opened his mouth to say more, but a voice cut through the microphone. "Next, we'll announce the Special Recognition Awards. Students, please gather near the stage." Debbie's eyes widened. "Oh no, I forgot about that." Leo frowned. "What do you mean? They call all students up front." "I didn't think I'd go." She swallowed nervously. "I really don't want to stand up there with everyone looking at me." Leo took her hand, squeezing gently. "You won't be standing alone." Her breath caught. He stepped closer, voice low and certain. "I'm going with you." Her heart pounded. "But Leo, you can't just walk on stage. Watch me." The moment Leo said, "Watch me," Debbie felt her legs weaken all over again. She wasn't sure if it was the dress, the heels, the lights, or simply him, but her entire world narrowed to the warm pressure of his hand holding hers. Students were gathering near the stage, laughter echoing, dresses sweeping across the floor, shoes tapping against the polished wood. She recognized several faces from class, some curious, some confused, and some clearly bitter. Harper whispered something to Madison, and Madison's eyes flicked toward Leo with open jealousy. Debbie's stomach tightened at the sight. Leo noticed. Of course he did. He leaned in, his voice low near her ear. "Ignore them." "I'm trying," she whispered. "You don't need to try," he murmured. "You walked in wearing that dress. You already won." Her face heated immediately. She looked away, flustered, but he didn't release her hand. Instead, he guided her with steady steps toward the group forming near the stage. When they reached the edge of the crowd, a professor tapped the microphone again. "Students, we'll begin the recognition ceremony. Please come forward." Debbie hesitated. The bright lights, the rows of chairs, the attention, it all made her chest tighten. Leo felt it instantly. "You're nervous," he said. She nodded. "Everyone's looking at me." "No," he corrected softly. "They're looking at us." She glanced at him, startled by the word. Us. The ballroom felt smaller suddenly, warmer, safer. Leo scanned the crowd, then lowered his voice. "I'll stand right here. If you look over, you'll see me." She swallowed, gathering courage she didn't know she had. "Okay. And if anyone says something you don't like," he added quietly, "tell me." "Leo," she sighed gently, "you can't threaten students." "I'm not threatening anyone." "Really? I'm making a promise." She laughed despite her nerves, soft but real. When the professor called out the first group of students, Debbie stepped forward with the others. Leo stayed right at the edge, tall and unbothered, his hands in his pockets, his attention fixed solely on her. She felt it even from a distance. She felt him. One by one, students were recognized. Debbie kept her posture straight, hands clasped in front of her, breathing slow. Every so often she glanced sideways, just enough to see him watching her, not critically, not possessively, not impatiently, just watching, with something that looked too close to admiration. When the ceremony ended, applause spread through the room. Debbie stepped down the small stairs carefully, gripping the rail so she wouldn't trip. She reached the bottom, and Leo was already there, offering his hand without saying a word. She took it. "You did well," he said softly. "I just stood there," she replied. "That's not what I saw." She felt warm all over again. They walked back to the center of the ballroom, and the music picked up, lighter now, faster. Students moved to grab drinks, take pictures, and enjoy the evening. Debbie relaxed slightly. She wasn't center stage anymore, but she still wasn't invisible, not with Leo beside her. "Do you want to sit for a minute?" he asked. She nodded. Her feet hurt more than she expected. He led her toward a quiet corner of the room, behind a tall arrangement of red and gold flowers. The lights were softer there, and the music sounded distant. Debbie sank into the seat gratefully. "I think I'm losing feeling in my toes." Leo sat beside her, amused. "That's normal." She leaned closer. "Have you worn heels before?" "No," he said, "but I've rescued enough women wearing them to know the signs." She laughed. "This is probably not helping my image as your date." "You're doing fine." She looked at him. "Why did you come, Leo?" He paused. Not long, but enough that she saw it. "I told you," he said eventually. "You shouldn't have gone alone." "But that's not all of it," she whispered. He didn't deny it. Instead, he turned slightly toward her. "You were crying in the kitchen the other night. It bothered me more than it should have." Her heart skipped. "Why?" "Because I don't like seeing you hurt," he said simply. "Especially not by people who don't know your worth." Her breath caught. "And tonight," he continued, voice lower, "I wanted you to feel what they never let you feel." "What's that?" she asked. "That you matter." She looked down, blinking fast. He exhaled slowly, then added, "And maybe I wanted an excuse to spend time with you outside the penthouse." Her head snapped up. "You? What?" "That's not complicated, Debbie." "Feels complicated," she murmured. He smirked softly. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, trying to calm her heartbeat. But Leo was watching her now, really watching her, like the entire night had narrowed to the space between them. When she shifted her legs, The slit of the dress opened slightly, revealing more of her knee. Leo's eyes flicked downward just for a second, 1 second, but she saw it. She felt it. Heat rushed to her cheeks. "You keep looking at me like that," she whispered, "and I'm going to fall off this chair." He leaned in just an inch. "Like what?" She swallowed. "Like you want something you're not supposed to want." His jaw tightened, not in anger, but restraint. "Maybe I do." Her breath trembled. For a moment neither of them moved. The lights above them dimmed softly, and the world grew quieter. 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches. He was close enough now that she could feel his breath against her cheek. "Leo," she whispered, unsure what she was asking. "Don't say my name like that," he murmured. "Why not?" "Because I won't be able to stop myself." Her heart slammed. "Stop yourself from what?" He reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away. His fingers brushed her cheek, soft but certain, tracing the warm flush beneath her skin. "From this," he said, and then he kissed her. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't forced, it wasn't hesitant either. It was the kind of kiss that started gentle but grew stronger within seconds, like he'd been holding himself back for far too long and finally allowed his guard to drop. His thumb brushed her jaw, her fingers curled into his shirt. He tasted like mint and something warm she couldn't name. When he deepened the kiss, she gasped softly, and he pulled her closer, one hand sliding to the small of her back. Her entire body melted into him. When he finally pulled away, they were both breathing unevenly. Debbie pressed her fingers to her lips, stunned. "Leo." He touched her cheek again, softer now. "Tell me to stop, and I will." She shook her head slowly. "I don't want you to stop." His eyes darkened just enough to reveal how much that meant to him. But then he shifted slightly, hesitation flickering across his expression, just for a second. "What's wrong?" she whispered. He looked away briefly, then back at her. "I don't want to pull you into something that could complicate your life." "You already have," she said gently. He gave a small, pained smile. "I know." Debbie reached for his hand without thinking. He didn't pull away. "What happens now?" she asked, voice barely audible. Leo inhaled sharply. "That depends on whether you regret what just happened." She squeezed his hand. "I don't regret it." He closed his eyes for a second, as if her words hit him deeper than she realized. "Then," he said softly, "I need to be honest with you." She tensed. "About what?" He lifted her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. The softness vanished. This was vulnerability. Real, raw, unguarded. "Tonight," he whispered, "I realized something I'm not sure I'm ready to admit." "Admit what?" she breathed. His thumb brushed her cheek. "That whatever this is, it's more than I expected." Her heartbeat quickened. "More?" "More," he repeated. But before she could ask anything else, a sudden burst of applause from the other side of the ballroom interrupted them. The lights brightened. People moved. The moment broke. Leo pulled back slightly, not cold but conflicted. "Debbie," he said softly, "we'll talk about this, I promise." "When?" she whispered. He hesitated, not because he didn't know, but because he knew exactly how dangerous the answer felt. "Soon," he said. "But first, I need to figure out what I'm willing to risk." Her stomach fluttered with both fear and anticipation. "And what if I already know what I'm willing to risk?" she asked. His eyes darkened again, slow, deep, certain. "Then this," he whispered, "is only the beginning." The next day felt strange from the moment Debbie woke up. The images from the night before stayed with her like scenes from a movie she couldn't stop replaying. The ballroom, the red dress, the way everyone turned to look at them, the way Leo stood beside her as if he had been doing it his entire life. And then the kiss. Every time she thought about it, her chest tightened. The way his hand held her face, the feel of his mouth on hers, the way he whispered that this was more than he expected. It didn't feel like a simple moment that would disappear after one night. It felt like something that would change everything. But the morning brought something else. Silence. No message, no call, No casual good morning text like the one he had sent before the car picked her up. No sign of him at all. Debbie tried not to overreact. He was a busy man. He had a life filled with things she did not understand. It made sense that he wasn't on his phone every second. Still, the quiet bothered her. She arrived at the penthouse on time, half expecting to see him at the balcony or in the office. Instead, the living room was empty. His office door was closed. His usual coffee mug wasn't on the table. One of the guards walked by. She gathered her courage. "Is Mr. DeLuca here?" she asked. "Left early," the man replied. "Meetings all day." "Oh," she said softly. "Right, of course." She forced a small smile and went back to her work, trying not to let it affect her. But as the hours passed and the silence stayed, a knot formed in her stomach. Had she done something wrong? Had the kiss been a mistake for him? Was he regretting everything he had said? She cleaned the kitchen twice, even though it didn't need it. She reorganized the living room. She wiped the already spotless counter until her arm got tired, just so she didn't have to think. By late afternoon, she had almost convinced herself that maybe the night before had meant more to her than to him. Maybe to him, it was just a moment. Her phone stayed quiet. She finished her shift, took the elevator down, and stepped out into the cool evening air with a hollow feeling in her chest. The ride home felt longer than usual. The city moved around her, loud and busy, but she felt strangely distant from it all. When she reached her small apartment, she changed into soft clothes, pulled her hair up, and sat on the edge of her bed. She picked up her phone and opened their last message thread. "Leo, your car is waiting downstairs. Take your time. I'll meet you at the university entrance. Nothing after that." She typed something, then erased it. Typed again. "Did you get home safe?" Backspace. "Thank you for last night." Backspace. What does this mean? Backspace. She dropped the phone on her bed and covered her face with her hands. "This is ridiculous," she whispered to herself. "You're overthinking this." A knock at the door made her jump. She looked at the clock. It was late. Too late for neighbors. Too late for deliveries. Her heart sped up. Another knock. Firm, controlled, familiar. Debbie's breath caught in her throat. She moved slowly to the door, her hand shaking slightly as she unlocked it and pulled it open. Leo stood there. No suit this time, no tie. Just a dark shirt, open at the collar, sleeves pushed up, and that same intense expression she knew too well. Her heart skipped. "Leo?" He looked at her for a moment, like he needed to make sure she was okay before he could breathe. "Hi." It was such a simple word, but it landed heavy. "You're here," she said, still trying to process it. "Yes." She stepped aside, letting him in. "Come in." He walked past her, taking in the small apartment with a quiet glance. It was modest, tiny kitchen, small couch, narrow bed that could be seen from the door. Nothing fancy, nothing dramatic. But it was hers. He turned to her. "I'm sorry I didn't contact you today," he said. "I know you noticed." She let out a small, nervous laugh. "I tried to pretend I didn't." His jaw flexed. "I needed to clear my head." Her chest tightened. "About last night?" "Yes." She nodded slowly, looking down at her hands. "If you regret it, you can say it. I'll understand." He stepped closer. "Debbie." She looked up. He shook his head. "I don't regret it." The air in the room shifted. "Not for a second," he added. Her eyes softened. "Then why did you disappear?" He took a breath, moving closer until there was only a small space between them. "Because I'm not used to feeling like this. And because if I'm going to pull you into my life, I need to be very clear about what that means." She swallowed. "What does it mean?" His gaze deepened. "It means you'll matter to me more than anyone else. And that has consequences." She didn't flinch. "I'm not afraid of you." "I know," he said. "That's one of the reasons this scares me so much." He looked away for a second, then back at her, more open than she had ever seen him. I've kept my life controlled for a long time, he admitted. Work, power, deals, no distractions, no weaknesses. That's how I've managed everything. And then you walked into my house with that shy smile and that uniform and those tired eyes. And somehow you became the only person I look for when I come home. Her throat tightened. Leo. When you laugh in the kitchen with the other staff, I hear it from the hallway. He continued. When you're not there, I notice. I notice when you leave early. I notice when you're exhausted from classes but still finish your work. I notice that you like red and that you always make sure my coffee is fresh, even when you're clearly the one who needs it more. Her eyes filled with tears. And when I saw you crying, he said softly, I felt something I never feel, helpless. I didn't know how to fix it without doing too much. She gave a tiny, watery smile. Buying a red dress and crashing my gala is not doing too little. He huffed a quiet breath that almost turned into a laugh. I realized that. Silence settled between them for a second, gentle, not heavy. Debbie stepped a little closer. So what are you afraid of, really? He looked at her, and the answer in his eyes was honest. I'm afraid of failing you, he said. I'm afraid of not knowing how to be what you deserve. I'm afraid that you'll see every part of my life and decide you were better off before this started. She shook her head firmly. You don't get to decide that for me. His lips curved in a small, almost grateful smile. I work hard for everything I have, she said quietly. I study, I clean, I pay my rent. I cry alone when I have to. I've done that my whole life. If I'm choosing you, if I'm letting myself feel this, it's because I know the risk, and I want it anyway. He stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time, even though he had been watching her all along. You want me anyway, he repeated. Yes. His shoulders dropped slightly, as if he'd been holding something heavy and finally allowed himself to set it down. He reached out, cupping her face in both hands with a gentleness that surprised even him. His thumbs brushed her cheeks, wiping away a tear that had escaped. You have no idea, he said, voice low, how much I needed to hear that. She leaned into his touch, then listened carefully. She placed her hands over his. I'm not asking you to change everything overnight. I'm not asking you to become someone else. I'm asking for honesty, respect, and effort, the same way I give you mine. His gaze didn't waver. I can do that, he said. Can you? She whispered. Even when it gets hard? He nodded once. Yes. He leaned his forehead against hers, closing his eyes for a moment. Last night when I kissed you, he said quietly, I knew I was crossing a line I couldn't uncross. And I still did it. Why? She asked, breath shaky. Because I couldn't stop wanting you. Her heart slammed wildly in her chest. He pulled back just enough to look into her eyes again. I want you in my home, in my life, at my side, not as an employee, not as someone I hide, as my woman. Her breath hitched. Your woman. If you'll have me, he said. She almost laughed at how serious he looked, like he was offering her something dangerous and fragile at the same time. Leo, you're acting like I haven't thought about this every night since I met you. His eyes softened. Have you? Yes, she said simply. Every single night. A slow, genuine smile appeared on his lips. Rare, unguarded, almost boyish. It made her chest ache in the best way. Come here, he whispered. He pulled her gently into his arms and she wrapped her arms around his waist, fitting against him like she had always belonged there. His chin rested lightly on her head. Her face pressed against his chest, hearing his heartbeat. Steady, strong, real. For someone who was supposed to be feared, he felt incredibly human. He held her like that for a long moment, breathing her in, letting the quiet of her small apartment cover them like a shield from everything outside. After a while, he spoke again, his voice soft against her hair. Debbie. I need to ask you something important. She leaned back just enough to look up at him. What is it? He studied her for a moment, then said, "If we do this, if we try, I don't want you to hide us. Not from yourself, not from your life. That means your graduation, your future, the people you care about. They'll know who I am to you." She nodded slowly. "I'm not ashamed of you." His eyes warmed. "Good, because I'm not ashamed of you either. And I don't plan to be." She smiled softly. "Then what exactly are you asking?" "I'm asking," he said, choosing the words carefully, "if you're ready for me to be more than the man who walks you into a gala and buys you a dress." Her heart swelled. "Yes," she said, "I'm ready." He traced the line of her jaw with his thumb. "Even if it means people will talk, even if your classmates say things, even if the staff looks at us differently, let them talk," she said. "They don't live my life. I do." He looked at her like that answer was everything he needed. "Then I'll start making changes," he said. "Not to impress you, to match what you're giving me." She frowned slightly. "What changes?" He hesitated, not out of doubt, but because he knew this promise meant he couldn't go back. "I'll make sure there is room in my life for you and your dreams," he said. "Your classes, your nursing, your future. You will not be a secret. You will not be second place to anything." Her throat tightened with emotion. "Leo." "And when you walk across that stage to get your diploma," he added quietly, "I'll be there, not in the background, not hiding, sitting where you can see me." Tears filled her eyes again. "You'd do that?" "I want to." She laughed softly through the tears. "You know you're making it very hard for me not to love you." He froze. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Then he asked, voice almost a whisper, "Are you trying not to?" She swallowed. "I don't think I've been trying at all." He searched her eyes, and what he saw there made something inside him finally surrender. "And if I told you I'm already there?" he said. She blinked. "Already? Where?" "In love with you," he answered. The room grew completely quiet. Debbie felt the words hit her like a warm wave, wrapping around her chest, filling every space that had ever felt empty. "You mean that?" she whispered, not as a doubt, but as a realization. "Yes," he said simply. "I do." She didn't play it off. She didn't joke. She didn't run. Instead, she lifted her hands to his face, holding him like he was something precious. "Good," she said softly, "because I'm in love with you too." His breath left him in a quiet exhale he didn't try to hide. He kissed her again, slower this time, deeper, safer, and more intense at once. Not a question, a promise. His hands held her like he had finally accepted that letting himself feel this was not weakness but choice. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "From now on," he said, "I'm all in. Whatever that looks like, I'll figure it out. I just need one thing from you." She smiled, still breathless. "What do you need?" "Don't give up on us when things get confusing," he said. "Talk to me. Let me fix it. Let me try." "I will," she promised. "But you have to do the same. No more disappearing without a word." "Deal," he murmured. She brushed her thumb across his lower lip. "So what happens next?" He looked at her with a mixture of certainty and something else, something that looked a lot like excitement. "Next," he said, "we stop pretending this is temporary. Tomorrow, I'll tell the people closest to me who you are to me. And very soon—" He paused, eyes holding hers, a hint of something bigger in his gaze. "Very soon, I'm going to ask you something that might change your life completely." Her heart skipped. "Ask me what?" she whispered. He gave her that slow, dangerous, beautiful half-smile she was slowly falling addicted to. "You'll find out," he said softly. "But only if you're still sure you want this." She didn't hesitate. "I do," she answered. But as she lay awake later that night, his words replayed in her mind, over and over again. "I'm going to ask you something that might change your life completely. And for the first time in a long time, Debbie Carter didn't feel afraid of what might come next. She felt ready, even if she had no idea what, exactly, he was planning to ask. The next morning, Debbie woke up earlier than usual, heart fluttering with the memory of everything that had happened the night before. The confession, the honesty, the way Leo held her like she was the first good thing to ever soften his world, the quiet promise in his voice when he said he was all in. She had barely slept, but she felt weightless. When she arrived at the penthouse, she expected to see him in his office or the living room, but instead, one of the guards nodded toward the balcony. "He's outside," he said, "waiting for you." Waiting? She stepped through the tall glass doors and found Leo leaning against the railing, the city stretched out behind him. He wasn't dressed for work yet. His shirt was open at the collar. His hair looked like he'd run his hands through it. And his expression softened the moment he turned and saw her. "There you are," he said quietly. "Good morning," she replied, unable to keep the warmth from her voice. He pushed off the railing and walked toward her, stopping just inches away. "Did you sleep?" he asked. "A little," she admitted. "You?" He shook his head. "I thought about you all night." Her cheeks heated. "About what?" "Everything." He brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "But mostly about what I want to do next." Her breath caught. "You said you would ask me something." "I will, but not yet." His thumb grazed her jaw, slow and warm. "First, we're starting the day together." She blinked. "Starting it? How?" He took her hand gently. "Come with me." Leo led her downstairs to the car, and they drove through the quieter side of Manhattan. Debbie pressed her forehead lightly to the window, noticing how calm the city felt at that hour. "Where are we going?" she asked. "You'll see," he said. When the car finally stopped, she recognized the building, her university. Her chest tightened. "Why are we here?" He stepped out of the car and offered her his hand again. "To fix something." She followed him inside, confused, until they reached the student affairs office. A woman behind the counter smiled at them politely. "Mr. DeLuca," she greeted. "We processed the sponsorship papers this morning." Debbie froze. "Sponsorship?" Leo looked at her gently. "Your final semester's tuition." "The fees, your books, all covered." Her heart jumped. "Leo, you didn't have to." "I know," he said softly, "but I wanted to. You're working, studying, barely sleeping, trying to carry everything alone. You shouldn't have to." "But," he shook his head, "no conditions, no expectations, just support. You deserve to finish nursing without drowning in debt." Her eyes filled instantly. She wasn't used to someone making life easier for her. She wasn't used to someone thinking ahead for her future. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. He cupped her cheek. "Then don't say anything. Just let me help you." She nodded slowly, overwhelmed, but grateful in a way she couldn't articulate. A world where someone loved her like this felt almost unreal. The following week passed in a blur of warmth and quiet stability. Leo didn't hide anything anymore. If she left work late, he drove her home. If she was studying, he brought her food without her asking. If she seemed tired, he told her to rest while he finished what she was doing. He even started learning pieces of her schedule, her lab times, her classes, her exam days. He didn't interfere. He just showed up in little ways that felt bigger than words. The staff noticed too. Some whispered, some smiled, some looked shocked. Leo didn't care, and Debbie no longer cared either. In the evenings, they sat together on the sofa, talking about things she never imagined he would share. His childhood, his strict father, the weight of responsibility he never asked for. She told him about growing up in foster homes, her dream of becoming a nurse, the loneliness she carried for so long. He listened to every word. They didn't rush anything. They didn't force anything. They just became something real. By the time graduation day arrived, Debbie felt like her entire life had shifted into color. The auditorium buzzed with energy, families cheering, students crying, professors lining up on stage. Debbie adjusted her purple stole nervously, her hands shaking as she sat with the other nursing graduates. But instead of feeling alone, she felt something else. She felt looked for. She scanned the audience once, then twice, until she saw him. Leo sat in the 5th row in a dark suit, surrounded by families and students. And despite sticking out completely in that environment, he didn't look uncomfortable. He looked proud. Their eyes met. He lifted his chin slightly. Not a nod, not a wave. Something more private. Her heart warmed instantly. When her name was called, "Deborah Carter!" She stepped onto the stage. The applause rose, but the only sound she heard was the thudding of her own heart. And when she accepted her diploma, she glanced toward the 5th row. Leo was already standing, not clapping politely, standing, like she had done something extraordinary, like she mattered. Her throat tightened. She swallowed hard and smiled, blinking back tears before walking off the stage with her diploma held close. When the ceremony ended, the students and families spilled into the courtyard. She searched the crowd, and then he appeared behind her, wrapping an arm gently around her waist. "You did it," he murmured. She turned, smiling. "We did it." He touched her cheek, proud. "You're incredible. You're dramatic," she teased softly. He leaned closer. "Only when it comes to you." He took her hand and guided her to a quieter part of the courtyard. A few trees shaded them from the rest of the crowd. Her heart raced. "Leo, what's going on?" He looked nervous, actually nervous. She had never seen that. "Debbie," he said slowly, "I told you I wanted to ask you something important." She nodded, breath catching. He exhaled. "This week, these months, you've changed my life. You've changed my home, my days, my nights, the way I think, the way I feel. Everything." Her eyes softened. "I want you beside me," he continued. "Not as my maid, not as someone who fits into my life only in the quiet moments. I want you beside me because you're the person I choose. Every day." Her hands trembled. "Leo," he stepped closer. "Move in with me." Her breath hitched. He wasn't asking lightly. He wasn't asking as a convenience. He wasn't asking because he was impulsive. He was asking because he loved her. She felt it everywhere. The girl who once cried alone in his kitchen now stood in front of a man who would choose her over and over again. "Yes," she whispered, voice trembling. "I want that." Relief flooded his expression, a soft, unguarded joy she had never seen on him before. He wrapped his arms around her instantly, lifting her off the ground in a warm, spinning embrace. She laughed into his shoulder, tears slipping down her cheeks as he held her close. When he set her down, he kept his forehead against hers. "I'm yours," he murmured. "Completely." "So am I," she whispered. He kissed her slowly, gently, with a depth that felt like home and promise and future all at once. When they separated, he looked at her with a soft smile. "Ready for our life?" he asked. She nodded. "I've been ready since the night you found me crying in the kitchen." He brushed her cheek. "I'll never let you cry alone again." And for the first time in her life, Debbie Carter walked into her future, not by herself, but hand in hand with the man who chose her, loved her, and made her believe she belonged anywhere she wanted to be. Before you go, I'd love to ask you for a small favor. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me more than you can imagine and keeps these videos coming. The link is right below the video, and if you're watching on TV, just point your phone's camera at the QR code on your screen. With this simple gesture, you support a creator like me in the most powerful way. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.